Happy Valentine's Day, y'all.
Someone want to be my Valentine?
For this episode, I'm going to talk about Valentine.
Thank you for clicking on my video. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate that you did.
Hello world, I'm Dorothy, aka Mr. FLIXTER, and I'm here to talk motion pictures. Mr.
Hello, world! It's Mrs. Whiskers! I'm not lying when I say I love you meowing forever.
Why, hello, world. I'm at a matinee. So tell me, darling, will this holiday slasher shoot an arrow through your heart?
Hello, world. I'm Noah, film critic extraordinaire. Meow! First things first. Welcome to our spoiler review.
Hello, world. Here's a little Elsa update. She's doing much better now. As you can see, her eyes have cleared up. And she doesn't have to wear the cone anymore, so I'm glad that she's feeling better. She's had a rough couple of weeks, but hopefully now I can get back on track. Unfortunately, I'm a little behind schedule because everything that happened, so I'm going to try to catch up.
Bow 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 bow. What is it? I love you. Meow. Measly furball.
This throwback to 80 slashers is from 2001, and it's inspired by a novel of the same name by Tom Savage. It's the story following 5 women in San Francisco who were cruel to a boy in middle school and are now being killed off one by someone in a Cupid mask. I like to call him the Cupid Killer. So that's how I'm going to refer to him for the rest of this video.
I also like how Zach Cherry calls him Old Cupid.
But, wouldn't you know it, along the way, ominous Valentine's Day cards are distributed to each potential new target leading up to, you guessed it, Valentine's Day!
Persistent, isn't he? Meow.
Directed by J.B. Blanks, he uses several camera tricks in order to build up tension. I noticed plenty of downward shots for the bird's eye view of the dire situations, just like the chase scenes, or any of the kill scenes. I also noticed first-person POV shots used for people while they investigate rooms. I like how he uses close-ups to make you feel like you're part of the conversations that take place between the girls. How he utilizes set pieces is also surprisingly effective. And even though this movie is full of rather creative kills, it's not gory, surprisingly. It's more about the thought of how everybody dies that's more terrifying.
The Australian director also directed Urban Legends, another amazing underrated slasher.
Absolutely, darling. Too bad he didn't do anything else. After that, it would have been marvelous.
For example, in the kill scene when Campbell gets an axe to the back. The scene could have played out to have more violence, but it doesn't. Another example is Paige's death in the hot tub. The Cupid killer could have used the drill on her for a more gruesome death, but he electrocuted her instead. Once again, this could have been way more gory, but it's not. So, because I was unsure of whether or not this was the director showing immense restraint, or because the MPAA got involved, I did some research. And it turns out the violence was in fact toned down because of the Columbine shooting that happened around the time, which affected a lot of horror movies at that time. It even affected Scream 3, which came out in 2000. So it turns out the MPAA did get involved. Ooh, I'm being attacked. Ooh, look who keeps attacking me. It was written by Gretchen J. Berg, Aaron Harberts, Donna Powers, and Wayne Powers. Now, I know what you're thinking. 4 writers. That's never a good sign.
Something smells like sugar honey iced tea. Oh wait, that's the Witter box.
But this truly does have a good story. It's a classic revenge plot that's a throwback to 80s slashers. And of course, it's obviously influenced by Scream. It's even got the murder mystery aspect to it. I like how in random moments it feels like a rom-com too. I did notice small details like how the order in which the girls are asked to dance, and how they're shown in the yearbook in the introduction during the opening credits, is the same way that they're systematically killed off. There's a nice reference to Carrie, too, when they cover a young Jeremy with red punch. And I like the subtle reference when Kate tells Dorothy that Adam/Jeremy is no angel. Sure, the plot's predictable, but this movie is more about the journey than it is the destination. Just like most other murder mysteries.
Did you know that love spelled backwards is evil?
So, the cast is full of familiar faces, and I think everyone does great in their roles. The core group really does feel like they've been lifelong friends. And I know the characters aren't very likable, but I think that's kind of the point. That way, when they do meet their demise, it makes it all the more satisfying.
The group of girls watch the horror unfold because they're foibles. Meow meow meow.
Katherine Heigl is Shelley. Her role is small, but she does fine with what she has to work with. She's the first one to get killed off, after all. However, the setup here makes no sense if you think about it. The Cupid killer took his shirt off and sat in place of the corpse just for a jump scare, and to risk his abdomen getting sliced open. Really? But the way the scene plays out, the following chase scene, I do like how this is directed. The way it's directed expertly cranks up the suspense. When the Cupid killer is going through the 2 rows of the corpses and he's stabbing at them to try and find Shelley, until he ultimately does and slashes their throat. I like the way the camera pans around. It shows the killer's feet, then it shows him stabbing at the corpse, and he works his way down the line. It's a pretty well-crafted scene. Very impressive. Also, the funeral scene for Shelley reminds me of Nightmare on Elm Street, the way that the characters reconcile and then they show remorse for their fallen friend. So I thought that was a nice touch, too. David Boreanaz plays Adam/Jeremy. He's pretty good at being charming and being the supportive friend of Kate, who I'll get to in a minute. But they both have tremendous chemistry. Although in my personal opinion, it was pretty obvious from the beginning that he was the killer. This film does do a good job spending a good amount of time planting different seeds for suspects. So at least they give you somewhat of a guessing game. Marley Shelton plays Kate, the final girl of this film. And she does a pretty good job of carrying it, too. She's got this sweet innocence to her, unlike the others. She's not mean-spirited by any means. Although she's not the smartest character as far as the writing goes, therefore her position as the final girl doesn't really feel earned. Do you know what I mean? She doesn't do anything to outwit the killer. She doesn't even have, well, she has that one chase scene at the end, but, there's no interactions throughout the movie. She only meets the killer face-to-face once. She doesn't earn it like other final girls do. Even Laurie Strode, she didn't meet Michael Myers till toward the end, but that lasts 20-30 minutes or so. It's just one big chase scene almost. And throughout Scream, Sidney Prescott has her interactions with Ghostface. Even in some of the Friday movies, sure, they don't meet till later on, but they still have that chase scene, and they still have that final confrontation. And that showdown never happens here. There's no big grand confession, there's no unmasking. None of the girls actually solve the mystery themselves. But I'll get to the ending in a little bit. Let's talk about this cast some more. Denise Richards plays Paige. This is one of her better performances, in my opinion. She's really funny and so good as the spontaneous, outspoken, sexy party girl. My favorite scene in the movie with her in it is when she's at the party and she gives the guy a waxing. So good. Jessica Caulfield is Lily. She's great as the comic relief. And I thought her death scene with the Cupid killer using arrows is a nice touch. She's a great character actress that usually sinks her teeth into the role that she's in. You can tell she's having a lot of fun here. It's too bad her character is so short-lived, though. I'd prefer if she was the final girl or Denise Richards. But hey, mine are great. Jessica Capshaw is Dorothy. She's the one who lied in the beginning and causes the film's inciting incident. She's really good at being spiteful and bitter, which in a way makes her one of the red herrings too. Because she does have good motive against the other girls because of her background. Dorothy's attitude toward the other characters and everything that's going on around them is another indication of why she's a suspect. I've even heard different fan theories about Dorothy and Jeremy working together and having two killers involved, just like Scream. How do you feel about that? Leave comments below, and we can talk about it. Hedy Barres plays Ruthie. She tries to warn the girls about a certain suspect, Campbell, but of course, nobody listens. But she's totally believable as a frustrated, scorned woman trying to seek personal justice. So in a way, this kind of makes her a suspect too.
Valentine can be described in 3 words. Fun, quiver, and lovable. Meow meow meow.
Unlike you, Fluffball.
Me say furball. Wow, wee wee. No love, all around. Meow.
And I just love the score by Dawn Davis. The intense piano, accompanied by the strings of the percussion sections, are just nerve-wracking. It makes for awesome theme music for a horror movie. So here's a few reasons why I think this film is severely underrated. Although the film's conclusion is highly predictable, along the way it does do a good job of subverting expectations in other ways. For example, when Ruth's character is being chased and she hides in the sauna, it's expected for her to get trapped in there and be killed off that way. But the chase continues. She runs off and hides in the shower room and ends up getting killed by glass shards instead. Another highlight is an ingenious kill with an iron. Yeah, that's right, you heard me right. An iron. The film spends a good chunk of time setting up potential suspects before the Cupid killer is actually revealed. I just wish it had 1 or 2 more scenes tacked on at the end to explain how Adam and Jeremy achieved what he did. He can kind of explain his plan a little bit better, do his motive. I mean, if you're going to copy Scream, you might as well have that big reveal scene, right? The whole plan scene going on. But all around, the kills are pretty clever. I already mentioned the hot tub and the arrows. Some of these are really clever if you think about it. But that way, if they had that final unmasking scene, and Jeremy had his confessions, so to speak, the film would feel more complete, in my opinion. So much about the ending is left ambiguous that different people could interpret it in different ways. I have so many unanswered questions. It's too bad that over the years this film has become somewhat forgotten, but I hope it gets a cult following if it doesn't already have one. I certainly haven't heard of it or anything like that, but hey, I could be wrong. So, in conclusion, this film has certainly shot an arrow through my heart. I don't know about you, but I prefer this over that awful My Bloody Valentine remake. Ever since I first saw it back in theaters when it came out in 2001. Almost 20 years later, and I still revisit this movie annually around Valentine's Day. Just something about it, I'm just drawn to it. I thoroughly enjoy this film, and I really do think it's underrated. So if you haven't seen it, I suggest you give it a shot. Get it? Shot. So, my first review for Valentine is large popcorn. With a box of chocolates on the side. But this won't be maggot filled. That's just gross. So, until next time, have a great day. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Noah, film critic extraordinaire. Yeah.
Do you like my shirt? It's kind of too small for me. That's why I put the other shirt on underneath it. I wouldn't want to look completely ridiculous. Now would I? And remember, Cupid is as Cupid does, but I'll always cherub this film. Did you know that I'm a film critic for HorrorBuzz.com? You can read my reviews on their website, and I make frequent appearances on their YouTube channel, HorrorBuzz Live, so I'll leave links below for that too. You should check it out when you get a chance.